It's often been said that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has a villain problem, although it's unclear why this is so often said, because the opposite is true. The MCU has provided some truly memorable, menacing, and malicious baddies, almost all of whom are as compelling as the heroes they fight. While the movies have been showcasing some of the comics' most powerful evildoers, there are still legions of even more obscure and insane villains to choose from. The only villain problem that Marvel Comics has ever had is that some of them often come across as a little bit too weird. But if you're anything like us, you know that weirdness is less of a problem and more part of the endless fun. Several of these weird and wonderful criminals can appear laughable at first, and it isn't until you really examine them that you can see just how incredibly dangerous they really can be. The following collection of scoundrels and sinners may not seem like much at first, but look deeper and you'll discover damning depths of danger and despair. And speaking of danger and despair, I'm Zoe from What Culture, and here are the 10 most unexpectedly powerful Marvel villains. Number 10, Taskmaster. While Taskmaster has existed in relative obscurity for many years, he's about to enter the mainstream rogues gallery in a big way. There's been a lot of buzz about his role as the big bad in both the upcoming Black Widow movie and the highly anticipated Avengers video game. So, who is he? At first look, you could be forgiven for thinking he was just a knockoff Skeletor from He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. And who could blame you? He's got a skull for a face. Well, technically it's just a mask, except in some storylines where it does seem to be his real, exposed skull. However, he has some truly dangerous tricks up his sleeve that could make Skeletor look like a goofy Saturday morning cartoon villain, which we suppose he is. Taskmaster has photographic reflexes, meaning he can watch anyone do any action once, then copy it without practice. If he wants to become a master archer, all he has to do is watch Hawkeye for a few minutes. If Black Widow hits him with a backflip spinning kick, you know he's going to hit right back with a very similar backflip spinning kick. The world's most dangerous copycat, Taskmaster is not somebody you want to show your best moves to. Number 9, the Infant Terrible. Is there anything worse than an annoying, hyperactive, overstimulated, attention-seeking toddler? Well, what about an annoying, hyperactive, overstimulated, attention-seeking toddler with phenomenal cosmic powers? No, I'm not talking about me. That's what the Fantastic Four faced in the Infant Terrible, one of their earlier and stranger villains. A member of the mysterious Ellen alien race, at first the Fantastic Four thought they were up against some sort of outer space mastermind with a plan for world domination. The truth was quite different. The Ellen was a lost child who had been accidentally separated from his parents, albeit a child with exceptionally dangerous reality warping powers. So what's the most effective way to take down a child? Well, to tattle to their parents, of course. After Reed Richards figured out that the big bad was no more than a confused baby boy who was just lashing out in a tantrum, he knew just what to do. He figured out a way to contact the child's parents, who came to Earth and stopped the youth from doing anything too destructive. The Infant Terrible has shown up a handful of times since then, and he has not shown any signs of growing up. Number 8, Stilt-Man. Although casual fans may have never even heard of him, the sinister Stilt-Man is surprisingly one of Daredevil's most enduring archenemies. At first, it's hard to understand why. After all, Daredevil is historically one of the coolest heroes in comic books, and Stilt-Man is anything but cool. Unless you think the gimmick of having really long legs is cool. However, to most readers, this guy is the equivalent of a mildly impressive circus act. But when you begin to look at Wilbur Stintman Day's track record, you'll notice he is actually hugely successful at what he does, and can be deadly dangerous to anyone facing him. It may look ridiculous, but Stilt-Man's hydraulic armor is shockingly powerful. Not only is it entirely bulletproof, but one kick from those long legs is enough to incapacitate even the man without fear himself. It took some serious firepower from the Punisher to finally put an end to the evil reign of Stilt-Man, but thanks to some clone conspiracy shenanigans, he may be back on the scene once again. Number 7, MODOK. Look at this guy. Just look at him. Is he not the most ridiculous looking giant floating face you have ever seen? MODOK looks like he should be a minor villain in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon, rather than a major player in the Marvel Universe's Rogues Gallery. Don't let his overwhelmingly silly appearance fool you though. He is an overwhelmingly dangerous villain. MODOK was created by the villainous Advanced Idea Mechanics, or AIM for short. Their goal was to create the ultimate killing machine that would enable them to conquer the entire world. In doing so, they were actually a little bit too successful, as MODOK was so incredibly powerful that he was enabled to enslave AIM themselves. Equipped with superhuman intellect and psionic powers, if you see this giant grotesque head floating your way, and how could you miss it, you know you better run. Number 6, Bessie the Hell Cow. Bessie had always been a special cow. Even when she was living an ordinary life on an ordinary dairy farm 300 years ago, she was still producing much more milk than the average cow. She would soon become famous for something much more horrific, after she was bitten by Count Dracula himself and transformed into the Hell Cow. Bessie the Hell Cow may be one of Marvel's lesser-known femme fatales, but she is certainly one of the most powerful. Many people have attempted to murder the beast over the 300 years of her undead career. All have failed. Even when she was beheaded and had her body mulched up for burger meat, she was able to possess another cow and continue her lifestyle of sucking blood and producing vampiric milk. She also wears a red and black cape, and occasionally uses a robot exoskeleton to walk around upright. She is the best. Number 5, The Natural. Now, here is a villain who is hot off the presses. The Natural made his debut appearance only weeks ago in Falcon and Winter Soldier #1. What a debut it was. So far, we know very little about him, but we're already excited and intrigued to figure out what exactly his deal is. While investigating a mass murder, Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes are visited by an extremely ordinary-looking young man, with a mop of blonde hair, an outfit that's trendy but not trying too hard, and a seemingly permanent smirk. He's not exactly the most threatening-looking person. However, after admitting unprompted that he is the mass murderer they've been looking for, he soon shows our two heroes why they should be frightened of him. Falcon and Winter Soldier are two extremely proficient fighters, both having taken on and defeated enemies far above their weight class over the years. So when they have their asses handed to them by a smarmy-looking, completely unarmed 20-something boy, you know that boy must be hiding some immense power. The Natural makes it very clear that he could easily kill Sam and Bucky if he wanted to, and that he only allows them to live because he's such a big fan of their work as superheroes. No doubt they'll be facing him again soon. And I, for one, cannot wait to see what happens. Number 4, Prince Namor, the Submariner. Namor is a bit of a flip-flopper. One minute, he's one of humanity's greatest allies, helping take down the axis of evil and win World War II. The next, he is trying to destroy New York with a series of giant tidal waves. It's this unpredictability and his fickle nature that make him such a dangerous being. However, you would never think it by looking at him. Basically Marvel's version of Aquaman, he's often lumped in with that superhero's history of being a joke character. Swimming around Atlantis and talking to fish just doesn't seem to be considered that cool or edgy. It doesn't help that his name is Prince Namor the Submariner, which sounds like something a particularly nerdy games master would come up with for an NPC in Dungeons & Dragons. He also usually wears nothing but green scaly briefs and booties with little wings on them. It's never been a particularly commanding look. Do not let his aesthetic choices fool you though. Namor could probably drown the entire surface world if he chose to, and one of these days, he just might be pushed to make that choice. Number 3, Impossible Man. Chances are you've heard of Mr. Mixie-Plick, the silly-looking little imp with the most powerful reality-warping magic powers of anyone in the DC universe. Well, meet Marvel's ridiculous rip-off of that character, who is just as powerful and looks even sillier. Impossible Man. Impossible Man is a Pop-Upian from the planet Pop-Up, a race of aliens who all share one hive mind and the ability to shapeshift. He's not exactly a villain per se, he's just an attention-seeking egomaniac who has a tendency to act in extremely annoying ways. And when a being this powerful is trying to be annoying, they can be really, really annoying. Aside from simply shapeshifting, Impossible Man can also replicate other superpowered beings' abilities perfectly, and teleport across space and through dimensions. He even has the ability to create new life, including his wife, the Impossible Woman, and their son, named, Adolf Impossible. Don't think about that one too much. Like any egomaniac, Impossible Man has one weakness that he simply cannot defeat. If the Fantastic Four ever need to banish him, they simply tell everyone to ignore him. This drives him to the point of insanity, until he finally just gives up and leaves. Number 2, Goddess. How could one little bug have such a profound effect on the entire Marvel universe? For decades, nobody knew what became of the radioactive spider that bit Peter Parker. And for decades, nobody cared to ask. For all we knew, it had died of radiation poisoning, if it hadn't been accidentally squashed by a scientist to boot first. But there is much more to the spider's story than simply being a catalyst for Spider-Man's powers. For example, Peter wasn't even the only person who got bit that day. Cindy Moon was also imbued with the spider's radioactive powers, becoming the superhero Silk. Another student, Carl King, took the opposite approach. When he figured out that the radioactive spider had created Spider-Man, he decided to eat the spider itself. This transformed him into the Thousand, a nightmarish villain who was literally made of 1,000 spiders. After the Thousand was defeated, the original spider managed to resurrect itself, and gain sentience and the ability to speak. Taking on the name Goddess, she decided to give vigilantism a go herself. Watching from the shadows as her children, Spider-Man and Silk, do most of the work, Goddess will occasionally help them out in secret by capturing low-level criminals. The big difference between Goddess and her children, however, is that Goddess does not ignore her animal instincts. Wrapping her prey in webbing, she completely devours them, making us question exactly how heroic she really is. This itsy-bitsy spider has great power, with none of the responsibility. Number 1, a baby. Another threat to the Marvel Universe, hot off the presses. Although this time, it is a threat of intergalactic proportions. Although a newborn orphan girl may seem like one of the least threatening villains a writer could come up with, things get a whole lot deadlier when you realise this baby is the latest owner of the Star Brand. So what is it? Simply put, the Star Brand is a small symbol, not unlike a tattoo or a birthmark, that grants its wielder immense power limited only by their imagination. It even has the power to trigger a white event, which in the past has caused percentages of the human population to gain Star Brand-like powers. However, depending on the will of the person using it, it can also be extremely, dangerously destructive. So you can imagine why the Avengers are pretty worried right about now. With these unimaginably destructive powers placed in the hand of a newborn baby, who knows what could happen? Until she develops a grasp of the great power she holds, this girl is a ticking time bomb. She's also the one baby you do not want to steal candy from. And that's our list. Got any more unusually powerful villains you can think of? Let us know down in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'm Zoe from What Culture, and you can find me on Twitter @Zemaskel. Thanks for watching.